Today we have with us Ian Hutchinson. Ian is author of People Glue, Employee Engagement and Retention Solutions That Stick. He is Chief Engagement Officer at lifebydesign.com.au, experts in employee activated engagement. Thank you for joining us today, Ian. We appreciate you in the call.
Thanks, Kirsten. Great to be here.
So, Ian, currently, what do you see are the biggest challenges for business leaders these days?
Well, in these times where we're all being asked to do more with less, the number one issue really is how do we maximize productivity and performance, but how do we do that simply and easily? Because, we've spoken about cultural change, but I think that's more a long-term issue. If employee engagement is a medium-term issue, but right now the key issue is productivity and performance. But how do we maximise that, how do we fast-track that, is through some more innovative ways of actually looking at motivation and engagement right now. Because I think the traditional approaches to engagement haven't really been getting the cut-through that many organisations have wanted.
Why do you think that the traditional engagement research approach hasn't been very effective?
Well, basically because everyone isn't engaged and motivated by the same thing. So most traditional engagement research will look at more umbrella approaches. So where they'll go and do the research, come up with the key findings, what do the majority of people say, which is all good and fine. They'll put time and energy into trying to solve some of those issues. The problem is there are other people who aren't motivated by those same issues. So employee engagement in the traditional approach, traditional research method approach, helps some, but not everyone. Understandably, many organisations will go and do the research because they're trying to make a soft skill issue a hard skill and measure it. But what we've found is many organisations are spending about 80% of their time on the research and only 20% on the implementation. And even when they're focusing on the implementation, I know that many are getting frustrated because, again, they're not getting the cut through. And there's 6 key reasons for this that we've researched over the last 12 months. Number one is they go and do the research and then they procrastinate to come up with the best solution, and in fact, inaction is the issue. They don't do anything particularly. And that can almost be worse doing nothing than doing no research at all, because people go, well, we do the research and you're not doing anything. Second issue, really why we're not getting cut through in engagement, is ineffective solutions. So we're putting in place initiatives that organisations think will work, but they're not really getting the cut through. Number 3 is leader buy-in, not getting commitment from all parts of the organisation around why we should engage people. We pay them, don't we? They should be engaged. And most leaders don't have the skills, tools or resources to be a perceived psychologist, coach or mentor around engagement and motivation. So they don't have the confidence to maybe have those discussions with their people individually around what engages and motivates them, what would make them more productive. And anyway, leaders are time poor, number 5. We're all time poor. Number 6, and this is the big one, number 6 is that most employees know what they don't want, fewer know what they really do want. So employee clarity is the key. Once we can get employees clear about what engages them individually, most of the engagement and productivity can be improved by the individual employee themselves, what we call employee activated engagement, a self-responsibility approach to productivity and performance.
So Ian, can you tell us more about why employee clarity is so important and it is the key?
Sure. So psychologically, most people know what they don't want, fewer know what they really do want. It's really easy to work out what unmotivates you at work. It's really easy to work out what disengages you at work, but it's actually a lot harder to work out what really does motivate and engage you moving forward. So most people know what they don't want, fewer know what they really do want. Psychological key issue. Now, there's a couple of problems, therefore, that trickle down from that. Number 1 is, if an employee doesn't know what they want, how can their manager properly engage and motivate them? Secondly, if an employee doesn't know what they want, how can they take responsibility for achieving those things that really engage and motivate them? And thirdly, if employees don't really know what they want, then the default driver becomes, well, just give me more money. And we know that doesn't really engage and motivate people properly once they feel fairly rewarded. But the good news is, once we can get employees clear about what engages and motivates them, 70 to 100% of increased productivity can be driven by the individual themselves. So the key is get individuals clear about what engages and motivates them.
Wow, the employee-activated engagement approach really sounds like it turns the traditional approach to engagement upside down. Okay, but how do you get employees to take responsibility for their own engagement?
Yeah, and this is an interesting one, because what many organisations to some degree have misleadingly thought is, look, let's shower people with gifts and benefits over the last couple of years in an effort to engage and motivate them. The problem with that is the more you give people, the more sometimes it can create the whinge entitlement culture. So the key is to get employees to take responsibility. How do you do that? You get them to get as clear as possible about what are their motivators, what do they really want moving forward. So we run a whole bunch of initiatives around the 3 stakeholder groups, because who's responsible for engagement? Well, everyone is responsible for engagement. Human resources, people leaders, employees are responsible for engagement, but they're responsible for a different set of tasks. So we run initiatives around helping human resources and people leaders better understand what are the key things that engage and motivate people, and what are some simple tools that they can do about that. For example, this is one of the main reasons that I wrote the People Glue book. It's now in its 2nd edition now even stickier. And within this book, there are some simple tools and resources to help people really understand and have a quick discussion with their people, particularly things like the engagement driver tools. So these are some great tools that people and people leaders can sit down with, help their individual employee understand, well, what are their top motivators, and therefore what they can do about it. And there are tools around helping people with each of the drivers so they can take responsibility, put themselves in their own driver's seat. So that's kind of the top-down, helping leaders and human resources with some tools and real some systems that'll help them. From the bottom up, helping individual employees, the key is we've created a system called mecentral.com. So it's a web-based platform where employees can go on and they can actually get control of their work, their life, and their personal finances themselves, understand what their key motivators are. We also run programs called self-leadership, which help workforces and individuals within workforces get real clarity and what they can do themselves to improve their motivation and engagement. So it's really a top-down leaders, bottom-up approach, but the real key is employee-activated engagement really kicks in once you get the workforce getting clarity around what motivates and engages them.
Okay, Ian, so it sounds like the key is productivity, and performance is getting employees clear on what motivates and engages them. Then they can take more responsibility and control themselves.
Totally, and I think many organisations put in organisational engagement plans. We need to start putting in team engagement plans, but more importantly, we need personal engagement plans, and that's where it all starts, from the bottom up, helping individuals get personal engagement plans.
Well, Ian, thanks for your insights on what certainly is a very topical issue in today's corporate environment. So if you want more information on this employee-activated engagement approach to productivity and performance in your organization, or to check out his organization's programs and systems, or simply to get a copy of Ian Hutchinson's book, People Glue and the Engagement Driver Card System, simply go to www.lifebydesign.com.au. Thanks, Ian.
Great. Thanks, Kirsten. Great chatting with you today.
I hope to have you again soon.
Cheers.